What's going on, guys? My name is Anissa Naomi. I'm a high performance transformation coach. I help women elevate in work, life, and at home so they can have it all. Let's get right into today's topic. I'm going to talk about faith. I'm going to talk about faith or belief, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to talk about faith. I'm going to be talking about this from a biblical and Christian point of view, but I definitely think it's applicable to all types of spiritual practices. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about faithful action. One of the things that I think really gets me about people using faith and religion or spirituality to say that they're waiting for something to come to them, right? I got beef with that. I got beef with that. I have seen so many examples of what it looks like to put action behind your faith or to put action behind your belief. And I want to talk a little bit about what it really looks like to put the action behind your faith. And that's really what we're going to get into today. So I want to talk about the 3 ingredients to faithful action. And I believe that it's the 3 ingredients to faithful action that allow for God's providence to step in on our behalf and for things to start coming to us or flowing to us. We have to be taking this faithful action. And a lot of us sometimes will use the excuse of we're waiting on God or we're waiting to hear from God. And so I wanted to talk about Esther. And I've talked about the story of Esther before because it really sticks out to me. And before I get into that, I really just want to make this really broad sweeping statement that you can have territory set aside for you. You can have an assignment set aside for you, but if you're not willing to go fight for it, you're not going to get it. This is me pointing back to kind of how the Israelites were stepping into the promised land. So when God brought the Israelites out of Egypt and in through the wilderness and then all these years, and then he was like, all right, bet. It's time for y'all to go into the land that I promised you. It's time for you to go into the land that I've already set aside for you. And then he told them that number 1, they had to cross a river. Number 2, they had to go fight all these different regions and plunder all this stuff. It's wild. It's wild, y'all. Y'all go read Joshua. It's wild. But like he literally is telling them, hey guys, this is yours. Now trust me that it's yours. Now go fight. And I think a lot of times people miss that. People miss that it was already theirs, but God required a fight. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is how that God requires you to fight through adversity in order for you to get to the things that you desire, in order for you to fulfill your assignment. It's really about fulfilling your assignment. It's not just about getting things. It's about fulfilling your assignment. And when you fulfill your assignment, then you're fulfilled on the inside. And when you're fulfilled on the inside, then you can have an outpouring into everybody else in your life and in your sphere of influence. And they will then become better, and so on and so forth. And that's really what this is all about, right? It's about becoming the best version of yourself, fighting through adversity along the way so that you can outpour into other people. All right? Bet. So let's fast forward to Esther. If you don't know anything about Esther, I'm going to give you the quick TLDR about Esther. Esther was a woman of Israel. At the time of the story, the Israelites were in exile. The king was like, hey, I need some wives. And he basically put out a call for wives, and Esther got chose. She did like a year-long beauty ritual and all of these things, and she got chose. So Esther was the queen. She was an Israelite who was a queen, a Persian queen, and the Persian Empire was overseeing the Israelites. So the Israelites were basically in exile in Persia, and she just so happened to be the queen. All right, so that's just setting the context there. Then there was some drama, and basically one of the king's men was like, hey, sign this document, and the document is going to let us kill all the Israelites. And Obviously, Esther was a little bit convicted, and then her cousin, who was the main one who really started all the drama, but we can get back to that. Her cousin comes to her and he was like, Esther, you gotta do something about this. And that's where we're gonna slow down and we're gonna talk about what Esther does about this, how she uses her position, and then really what she uses her position for. So after her cousin comes to her and says, you need to help us, all this stuff. And he says a verse that has probably been quoted and has a lot of popularity. He says, maybe it's possible that you were appointed to this position for such a time like this. He's saying, hey, maybe you're the queen right now so that you can use your position to help your people to get out of this predicament. Now, the little wrinkle in the fact that they were going to kill all the Israelites is that there was a law that the Israelites couldn't fight back. So that's actually like kind of important. So keep that in the back of your head. They couldn't fight back. All right. So Esther's like, okay, let me think about it. So she goes off, and the Bible says that, she was aware of the risk. She was like, this is a bad idea. Who's to say he's not going to chop off my head when I ask him to, have this consideration and all of these things. So she's aware that there's a risk. And that's one of the first pieces of the ingredients of taking faithful action, is that you have to be aware that there's a risk. And I think obviously when we're not taking the action, it's because we're aware that there's a risk. So being aware of a risk is not, it's not an anomaly. You're not the only person who has risks associated with the things that you want to go after. It's normal. There needs to be a risk so that you can plus up your faith, plus up your belief, right? And then the next thing that she does, though, that's interesting, after she assesses the risk, she says, you know what? I'm going to go pray about this. And so she goes and she prays and she fasts. But what she prays for, the Bible says that she prays for focus. She doesn't pray for direction. She doesn't say, God, please tell me if I should. She prays so that she will be focused. She fasts so that she will be focused, so that when she goes and asks the king for his consideration, that she has the focus and the mental fortitude that she needs. So you've got to get focused when you're preparing to take faithful action. You assess the risk. Now, understand that when you acknowledge the risk, you assess the risk, and you do so in a manner that is smart. You assess the risk, and then you calculate, what's the best way to do this, and you go forward in a smart manner. Second, she asks for focus. You stay focused. You get really clear on what it is that you want. You don't let the outside things distract you. You don't let other things throw you off your game, because you're focused on your intention. You're focused on your assignment. You're focused on fulfilling your assignment. So you don't let these other things get in your way when you're preparing to take faithful action, because you know what's on the other side. You have to be focused. You're expecting adversity. So she goes off, she does her fast, and then after her fast, she's like, all right, I'm going to go see what he says. And so she goes in, and I don't think the Bible runs down everything that she says, but basically the end result is that the king signs a decree that the Israelites can fight back, that they can take up arms. And what I thought was really interesting at one point when I read this, I was like, hold up. So he wasn't just going to free them or veto the previous decree. He had to make another decree that was like, well, y'all can fight. It's going to be a war. So there was literally a day where there was going to be a battle. There was literally a day where there was going to be a battle so that the Israelites could be free, so that they could take up arms. And they were excited that they were going to be able to take up arms. They were excited that they were going to be able to fight. So that goes back to the thought and the idea and the fact, really, that there has to be some fight in your faith. You can't just be sitting there waiting for God to come to you, waiting for God to do the things and open the doors and and you ain't even knocked yet. Hello? So ultimately, on whatever it is, whatever assignment that you have, whatever calling it is on your heart, whatever you need to fulfill on the other side of this, you have to understand that it's going to be a fight. And you're not going to be ready to step into what God has for you until you're ready to fight for it. Being ready is not a feeling. Being ready is not anything but a decision. You choose to walk towards your purpose. You choose to assess the risk. You choose to resolve and decide and to be focused. And then you choose to fight for what you know is yours. And you do that with a confidence, and you do that with that faithful action so that you can move closer and closer to what God has for you. And as you take that faithful action, you trust that He's going to meet you where you need to be met. Not where you think you need to be met, but where He knows you need to be met. And so you have to keep trusting and keep moving and keep working through the adversity, expecting there to be a battle, expecting there to be a fight, knowing that you are equipped to fight the battle. So those are the 3 ingredients for faithful action. If you are somebody who has been feeling stuck in your faith, or you've been feeling like you're waiting on God, I want you to just reposition that. I want you to rethink that. I want you to turn it around a little bit. And I want you to think about the fact that maybe God's waiting on you to make a move. Maybe God's waiting on you to get ready to fight. Maybe God's waiting on you to decide to step into your calling so that He can meet you where you're at, where you need to be met, not where you're at. So you need to start taking that faithful action, press on to the goal. I love you so much. There's nothing you can do about it. Until next time, bye.